Hello, everyone. So today I will be discussing trends in the deployment of drones in the construction industry. This presentation will be talking about the patterns in the deployment of drones in the construction industry and projections regarding the Turkish construction industry. So first things first, we will begin with the topics covered in this presentation. We will start with an introduction of drones and their role in civil engineering applications. And then we will go to construction firms involved with the drone technology and drone companies. Then we will proceed to countries involved in the construction drone technologies. After that, we'll pass through the current Turkish construction industry, and we will conclude with predictions for the Turkish construction industry and predictions for the for drones in the construction industry in general. So, beginning with drones, drones are unmanned aerial vehicles that are being piloted with no pilot aboard. They are being referred to as drones, and they are an emerging technology with many applications in different fields, and especially like in the civil engineering field. Applications varying from the site inspections, creating models, and volumetric analysis. One example of these applications is going to be discussed here: the maintenance and preservations of different structures, as you can see in this picture. Here is an engineer trying to inspect a bridge, and in these kinds of tasks for these specific structures are arduous tasks, and they are time consuming. So the application of drones in these situations will be much easier, and it will save time, and it will provide a reliable and safe data for construction purposes. This will lead us to the discussion of benefits of drones in the construction industry. And the benefits of drones in the construction industry goes as early as the pre-planning and designing phases and bidding phases of the project. So drones can provide reliable information about the topography of the work site, through doing digital terrain modeling and digital surface modeling, which is invaluable for the building and the excavation works and the storing of materials. Then we have planning and design, which is another benefit of drones. Drones can help in creating building information models and can help in creating CAD models for design purposes. After that, we'll pass to the earthworks. Drones are capable of doing volumetric analysis to calculate the amount of earthworks required for a project. And finally, the inspections of projects. So using technologies like LIDAR, which is remote sensing pulse laser, it can detect any thermal signs, moisture, or gas leakage. Now we will begin talking about the construction companies that are involved in the drone technology. And from our research, we found that United States has the most number of companies that are using drones in their work, followed by the UK. And we found that 73% of the construction companies that are involved in our sample generates revenues exceeding $1 billion, which means that these companies are capable of investing in innovation and integrating new technologies in their work. And interestingly enough, we found that 3 of the most revenue generators in our sample are hospitality and resort companies, which indicates that these companies are already using their drones in other applications, and it has less deployment cost to integrate drones in the construction sector. The chart to the right shows the distribution of the revenues for construction companies, and the chart to the left shows the specialties of these companies, and we can notice that most of these companies are general construction companies, followed by management companies, design models, and infrastructure companies. Now we will go to drone companies, and once again, United States was the country with the most drone companies involved in our sample, tying with the United Kingdoms with 32% of the each, and followed by China, Switzerland, and China, Switzerland, and one other country. China was the top drone supplier, with DJI being crowned the king of drones, which is the biggest company supplying drones worldwide. And we noticed that most of the drone companies are software companies, 54%, and which is due to the ease of investment in the software segment. So it's easier to invest in the innovations and in the technology sector. The chart to the right shows the distribution of the revenues for drone companies in 2019 and 2020 in terms of $1 million. And we can see that 3 of the most revenue generators are software companies, which are CDS, AI, and ProDroneWorks. And the most use of the drones in the construction companies are illustrated in the left chart. We see that surveying takes the biggest chunk of these usages, followed by inspection, modeling, and mapping. Now we'll talk about the indices that is correlated to the adoption of drones in the construction industry to like different aspects of like countries. We will begin by GDP per capita, and GDP per capita is an indication of the prosperity and welfare of a country, which indicates that this country is able to invest and test the new technologies on field. However, we didn't find any correlations correlating the GDP to the adoption of drones. For instance, we have countries like Qatar and Luxembourg, and these countries have high GDP, but they have nothing to do with drones in construction industry. Next, we went to the contribution of the construction industry in the in a country's economy or GDP. Here, we argued that if the contribution of the construction industry in the economy is high, that means that there is a booming like market, construction market, and competitive construction market. However, we found the United States to be lagging behind compared to countries like Qatar, which is not a positive correlations regarding the projections we want to make. Then we went for the quality of infrastructure, which is indicated by the logistic performance index. Here, we found that the top 5 countries in this chart are already deploying drones in their construction projects. We have few outliers like Luxembourg and Qatar, but these were discarded because these countries have higher GDP for considerably smaller areas. And here we found a positive correlation. After that, we went for the urbanism aspect, and the argument was if we have a highly populated area with a huge number of highly dense populated dwellings, these will require a lot of inspections and maintenance, and thus the usage of drone will be recommended here. However, we didn't find any correlations in this chart, and this might be because higher populated areas will result like in a higher number of engineers, and the ease of doing the inspections by just hiring engineers to do it. And then we went for the numbers of registered drones in each country. And here we can see that if a country has a foundation for a technology, for instance here, drone technology, that means that this country is much more likely to adopt this technology in other sectors. And here, this checks out. We see United States, China, and the EU topping this chart, and they already pioneering the drones in construction, like the construction industry using drones. Now we considered the number of construction-related companies in each country, and here the argument was simple. The higher the number of the number of construction companies, that means that there is a higher chance of having companies that are using drones for construction. However, we see countries like Switzerland and France lagging way behind, and which doesn't comply with our research. So we didn't make any correlations here. Now we'll pass to the Turkish construction industry, and the construction industry to Turkey is so important. It accounts for 5.7% of the total GDP of the total GDP of the country, and it's indirectly responsible for 30% of the GDP. It employs 1.9 million people, and an indicator of the importance of this industry in Turkey is that 530 billion Turkish liras was set as a budget by the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure in 2019. Now we go to the current status of the drone deployment in the construction industry, and they are already being used in many industries, including the civil engineering and construction industry. However, it needs huge reinforcements, and it needs some investments to get it up to speed with modern technologies and to make it up to date. Now, we'll make conclusions about the Turkish industry future regarding the drone deployment. The current correlations found are focusing mainly on the number of registered drones in Turkey and the quality of infrastructure. These are the positive correlations we found from our research, and Turkey is active in both fields. So the application of the drone technology is recommended since Turkey is active in doing infrastructure projects, and they have a decent number of registered drones. And Turkish economy, as we mentioned, is highly dependent on the construction industry. It contributes to a decent amount of GDP to the country. So, like the implementation of drones is recommended here. So, conclusions about the drone industry in general. So, the drone implementations are limited to mapping and surveying, as we said before, and that's why we have to like the construction companies in Turkey or in general has to focus on investing in developing technologies to integrate, like the BIM modeling, the inspections, for example, LiDAR technologies. And when these technologies are being used as standard, companies will devise some divisions, and it will make it the norm. It will make methodologies to make use of these technologies and make it the norm in the industry. In the end, thanks for listening, and I'll be happy to have your questions.